Good morning, children. Today also we'll continue with the third chapter, that is human reproduction. In our last video, we have completed male reproductive system. In this video, we will be learning about female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is located in the pelvic region and it includes a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviduct, uterus, cervix, vagina, and external genitalia, where oviducts, uterus, and vagina are the accessory ducts. A pair of mammary glands are also present for the nourishment of the newborn or offspring. All the parts are integrated structurally and functionally to support the process of ovulation, that means formation, release of ovum, then fertilization, that means fusion of male and female gamete, pregnancy, birth, and childcare. This is the sectional view of female pelvis showing the reproductive system. Okay. So let us start with the female reproductive system. First we will learn about the primary sex organs. Ovaries are the primary sex organs of females. They produce female gametes called ovum and several steroid hormones which are also called ovarian hormones like estrogen and progesterone. The ovaries are almond shaped, lying in the lower part of the abdomen, held to the broad ligament by double folds of peritoneum called mesoovarium. Each ovary is about 2 to 4 cm in length and is connected by an ovarian ligament to the uterus and by a suspensory ligament to the lateral pelvic wall. Each ovary is connected by a thin epithelium enclosing ovarian stroma, which contains connective tissues, blood vessels, and mature follicles. The stroma is divided into two parts, that is, a peripheral cortex and an inner medulla. The ovarian cortex contains many rounded or oval bodies called ovarian or Graafian follicles at various stages of development, which ultimately give rise to ovum. Now, let us study about TS of ovaries. In the TS of ovaries, you will find the developing follicles in different stages. Primary follicle develops into secondary follicle, then to tertiary, and finally to the Graafian follicle, which has the mature ovum. The follicle matures around 14th day of menstrual cycle and ruptures, means breaks, to release the oocyte, that is ovum, and the process of release of ovum from the Graafian follicle is known as ovulation. After the release of ovum, the follicle filled with blood clot and yellow cells is known as Corpus Luteum, and it is because of the high levels of progesterone. Oviducts, which are also called fallopian tubes, uterus, vagina, are called the accessory ducts. Just now you have learned the structure, that is TS of ovary. So in this diagram you can see the primary follicles. The primary follicles has the oocyte which develops into ovum. Okay, so first the primary follicles develops into secondary follicle, then it develops into tertiary follicle. And finally into Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle is identified by a fluid-filled cavity which is called antrum. Okay, and you can see this is the ovum, right? So this Graafian follicle, it ruptures, and ruptures means break, and there is release of this ovum, and the left out part of the Graafian follicle is then known as corpus luteum. The corpus luteum develops and finally it gets degenerated. So I hope you have understood this structure. This is the sectional view of female reproductive system, where you can find there are a pair of ovaries. These are the ovaries. Then a pair of oviduct. This tube-like structure are the oviducts. And it opens into a structure which is inverted pear shape, and that is known as uterus. Fallopian tube. Okay, first ovary, then it opens into fallopian tube, then uterus. Uterus then opens into cervix, and through cervical canal, cervix opens into vagina. These are the three layers of uterus. The outermost layer is called perimetrium, then myometrium, and then endometrium. We will be studying about this in few slides back. So children, now we will start with the secondary sex organs. And the secondary sex organs are the accessory ducts, which are oviduct, uterus, vagina. Let us first start with the oviduct or the fallopian tubes. These are two small tubes of 10 to 12 centimeter length lying on either sides of uterus near the kidney. These tubes carry the egg from the ovary to the uterus and also provides the appropriate environment for its fertilization. The fallopian tubes or oviducts show four regions, that is infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus, and the uterine part. The infundibulum is broad and funnel shaped, with its edges bearing motile finger-like projections called fimbriae. It helps in collection of ovum after fertilization. So children, you can see this structure. This is infundibulum. It has the finger-like projections called fimbriae, which helps in collection of the ovum after it is released from the ovary. Then it opens into the next part, which is called ampulla. Ampulla is the long, wide thin walled part of fallopian tube next to the infundibulum where fertilization takes place. Isthmus is a short, narrow lumen that follows ampulla and joins the uterus. Uterine part passes through the uterine wall and communicates with the uterine cavity. Now let us study about uterus. Uterus is also known as womb of mother. It is about 7.5 centimeter long, 5 centimeter wide, like an inverted pear in shape. It is supported by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. It lies between the urinary bladder and rectum. Uterus has a thick, highly vascular wall composed of 3 layers of tissues. Number 1, that is outer perimetrium, a thin membranous covering of uterus wall. Middle myometrium. First, the outer is perimetrium, middle is the myometrium, a layer of smooth muscle fibers which contracts strongly during delivery of the baby. And the inner endometrium, a glandular layer with many blood vessels. It undergoes cyclic changes during the menstrual cycle. Uterus receives the ovum from the fallopian tube, forms placenta for the development of fetus, and also expels the young one at the time of birth. Cervix is the narrow entrance of the uterus into the vagina. It has strongest sphincter in its wall and is normally blocked by a plug of mucus. The cavity of cervix is called cervical canal, which along with vagina forms the birth canal. Now, let us study about vagina. It is about 10 centimeter long and acts as a receptacle for the penis during copulation or mating, for allowing menstrual flow, and for serving as a birth canal during parturition. It opens to the exterior by an aperture called vaginal orifice. Moving to the next topic, that is accessory glands. A pair of vestibular or Bartholin's glands occur on each side of the vaginal orifice. They are small rounded bodies. These glands correspond to the Cowper's gland of the male and secrete a clear viscid fluid under sexual excitement. This fluid serves as a lubricant during copulation. Now, the new topic is external genitalia. The external genitalia of females consist of different parts like mons pubis. It is the anterior most structure of vulva, that is external genitalia, and is covered with skin and pubic hair. Two longitudinal folds of tissue called labia majora form the boundary of the vulva. It also covers two additional folds of tissues called the labia minora. Both labia majora and labia minora protect the vaginal and urethral openings beneath. Clitoris is the small erectile organ which lies at the upper junction of the labia minora above the urethral opening. It is the homologous of glans penis of males. The vaginal orifice is normally covered by a membrane called hymen. It is a thin mucous membrane which covers the vaginal opening either partly or completely. It is often torn during the first coitus or intercourse, but may be present in some women even after coitus. Hymen may also get stretched or torn by normal activities such as horseback riding, and therefore its presence or absence is not an accurate indicator of a women's virginity or sexual experience. Now, moving to the next topic, that is mammary glands. These are paired structures, breast, functional in female mammals only. Breasts are the rounded, paired structures located over the pectoral muscles on the front wall of the thorax. Each breast in its middle has a nipple surrounded by the circular pigmented area called areola. It contains glandular tissue and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing cluster of mammary alveoli which opens into mammary tubules. The cells of alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavities or lumens of alveoli. The tubules of each lobe join to form mammary duct. Just under the nipples, the lactiferous ducts widen to form lactiferous sinuses to store milk during lactation. Several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla which is connected to lactiferous duct through which milk is sucked out. That is all for today's lecture. In our next video, we will start with gametogenesis. I hope that today's topic is clear to everyone. Thank you.